last bit as well, so it'll be helpful. All right, so we were looking at three scenarios since we had three groups. The group that handled scenario one, what was the your conversation? What was the explanation that you were coming up with? Maybe we could just take maximum 1 minute to breeze us through it. Anyone who took scenario one?
So I'm speaking from scenario one.
Yeah.
Kalam cosmological argument says that everything that exists must have a cause, and we claim that God exists. So what we discussed was, if God is created or caused, then He is not God. So God should be therefore He is everlasting. Therefore, He is God. If He is a created one, then He will not be a God.
Yeah, that's a good answer on the question of why must God be uncreated and all of that. It's a good answer to come up with, and if you read up on people like Anselm of Canterbury and all of that, they all have written about what God must be or what must God look like and all of that. But the interesting thing is, for this scenario, we don't have to touch upon any of that because the
Okay.
question has made a mistake. The question says that the Kalam cosmological argument says that everything that exists must have a cause. But the Kalam
Mm.
cosmological argument doesn't say that. What does it say in P1? Is there anyone here who has taken note of? Can you read out what was P1 of the first argument that we looked at?
Everything to begin to exist as a cause.
That's the point. The Kalam cosmological argument says that it's everything that begins to exist that has a cause.
Mm.
So and we've looked at the nature of God, the nature of the creator of the universe, and all of that. And if we say that God began to exist, then by that same argument, we must say that God has a cause. But we never say that God began to exist. And the argument never says that everything
Mm.
that exists must have a cause. The argument says that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Now, what the atheist must do is that first they must say, yes, everything that begins to exist has a cause, and then they must show us that God began to exist. Only then can they say that God has a cause. But until then, this argument doesn't work. Is that clear now? To the team in
Yes,
scenario one.
yes.
Yes. And I use this, it's not simply I wanted to make it tricky or anything. We see this very commonly said. This is a very common objection to this argument. A lot of time people misread the Kalam cosmological argument, the P1 of it, and say that everything that exists must have a cause. That is never the argument. All right. So good pointers on the answers as well
Okay.
that you shared as well. Now moving to scenario two, the team that handles scenario two, can anyone from your side? Yeah, Pastor.
So this was a question. You say that the causal principle used in Kalam is validated by everyday experiences, but these everyday experiences happen within the universe. How can you apply this to the universe as a whole? Um, One aspect that in the Kalam cosmological argument we also say that the expansion of the universe, that is, universe is being expanded. One aspect when we look at this that when we try to understand what is happening in this place or earth we call it as our through our everyday experiences we are able to understand this cannot be a coincidence. Coincidences cannot bring forth the life because of this or the constant aspects that we looked at. I think that it is absolutely impossible to us, and we don't see a multiverse. We don't see another universe having the same kind of life the way that we see it happening. So I think if it's expanding and it has that's expanding means that it had a beginning, and the way that we are able to make sense in this world itself says that there is some sensible person or sensible thing is happening behind it. So what we were trying to understand is probably can we apply everything out there, no, we are speaking about a lifeless universe. There are lifeless things out there. There are no life found in certain places. Why there is no life found in there? Because that conducive environment is not there. Uh, Whoever created us, it's created only universe, the world that we are in. It had some kind of, how do you say, all those things came together to be existed. So, I mean, that's the line we're just trying to understand.
Right. Now, the only thing that has happened there is that your group has conflated the Kalam and the fine tuning together.
Yeah, we did, yes.
Yeah. So in here, the whole point is focused on Kalam. But you touched upon a point that we covered in the fine tuning, right? When we talk about probability, we look at our every world scenario, we look at the improbability. That's the way we make sense of reality. So why should the universe as a whole be excluded to that reality? That was one of the points you were making now, right? I think Pas said yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. That's the key thing. Okay, that's the point that you covered here. And here's how we would bring it out if you get this question. The causal principle is what? Everything that begins to exist has a cause. That was the causal principle, effect cause thing. This is how reality operates. This is how existence is. And there is no reason for us to say that this cannot be applied to the universe as well. Right? Another way to put it is that I would ask the person, what do you think about the law of non-contradiction? And the person would say, yeah, the law of non-contradiction works, right? That's the way we make sense of court cases, eyewitness testimonies, things that happen around us, all of that. What is the underlying principle of the law of non-contradiction? Is that this is the way reality operates. It is just a description of the way reality operates. Things can't contradict. That's quite simply the law of non-contradiction. Things cannot contradict. And I would ask them, do you think that applies to the universe as a whole? Is the statement, the universe exists, and the statement, the universe does not exist, both equally true? The person would obviously say that no, you can't have both those statements as true. They cannot contradict each other. My follow-up question would be is that, okay, your understanding about the law of non-contradiction is based on what you observe within this world. We have formulated it based on what we see within this universe. But now you are happy to apply that to the entirety of the universe? You're happy to apply the law of non-contradiction to the entirety of the universe? Why? It's because that is a description, a narration of how reality is, how existence is. And hence, the universe as a whole is not exempt from it. That's the same thing with the cause and effect. It is not something about how things are in planet Earth. It's not how things are within the green nature. It is not how things are within the solar system. It is a principle that holds true for existence. And hence, it holds true for all of existence. Which is why they would use, like this person would very well ask the who created God question. Why? Oh, God exists, so who created it? Why? They're also applying the same causal principle to ask us that. Because they also inadvertently consider the fact that this causal principle can be applied to everything that exists. If that's the case, it can be applied to the universe as a whole itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Understood. So, I mean, one question, follow-up question quickly would be this. He is also asking us this fact that how does the everyday experiences happen within the universe, right? So, in the P1, we are seeing that we are not only speaking about the everyday experiences, right? We are also speaking about other aspects.
Yes.
Yeah. So because everyday experience is not only the thing that we are speaking about.
We are saying that yes, that's true. So which is why we have those three arguments that we use, right? But his point is that all of those three arguments are coming from our experience within the universe.
Yeah.
That's their point. They say that all of these things that you say are based on what you know from within the universe. How can you apply it to the entire universe? There, like I said, I would take that long stroll to show them that it's first concerning existence. It is about the nature of existence, and so it must apply to all of it. I would give the analogy of law of contradiction to show that we use that to apply to everything in all of our exploration, our understanding of the universe, to show that part. All right. Scenario 3, the team that handles scenario 3, anyone from your team who can step up and give a quick overview of what you dealt with? Yeah, there were 4 people in scenario 3 in that group. Anyone? Abhishek, Gaurav, Joel, Sarah.
Yeah, I can share a part of what the discussion. So, what is God made up, or not made up of matter? So, thing we were talking about is that uh, aspects like emotions, like love, and all of that, they exist, but there is no matter as such that they can be related to. We also cannot say the sequence in which love happens in our life, or we recognize emotions. We do not know the step by step process. It just happens, and we know they exist. We know the experience. We benefit from it. And that's how we interact with our people as well. So even though it is not in the form of matter, we know it exists. And Abhishek was giving an example of how we use virtual sessions, or maybe Abhishek, you can add the correct terms there. Uh, Virtual desktop or storage or whatever. I mean, there's no process that we can show, but they exist. And Joel was talking about sharing about a movie scenario. Maybe he might want to share it himself.
Yeah, Joel.
Yeah. I was trying. This question tries to put God within our universe and try to explain. The scenario that I was thinking of was a movie called Free Guy, and if you watched it, the guy is in a virtual gaming universe, and if he's trying to understand how his universe is created within his own constraints, it's gonna be he wouldn't be able to explain that. But the programmer who created the universe knows it, and there's an intelligent creator behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. It's good that you're to use such examples from pop culture or mass media to draw it out as well. That's a good way to convey the idea as well. And I think your team has covered it quite well. To just sum up for everyone else, the core part of their answer and the core part that relates here is that we don't have to explain how certain things operate to show that it operates, right? The example of the virtual media, or how love exists, or how we interact with love, right? If you ask me, I may not be able to explain how love emotion interacts with us. I may not be able to explain how someone created the phone, or how someone created digital media. But that doesn't mean that therefore there is no creator for the digital media, or that digital media doesn't exist. One example you can keep in mind is archaeology. We dig up, we find stuff from archaeology, and we figure out to say, okay, this was a civilization that did this. Even if we never know how that civilization created that pottery, or how that civilization got those paint to paint the pottery, we can conclude that it was an intelligence behind it. So there's a pottery, we explain it. Okay, how did this pottery come to be? Okay, it was a civilization. Even if we are unable to explain how that civilization made the pottery, the explanation that it was a civilization that made it and not natural order is still relevant. And this can be used in other scenarios as well. So great job for the team. And the final one that we didn't have a team to look at was scenario 4, right? A puddle waking up and realizing that the water fits the circle, the puddle properly. And so it is, okay, it's basically trying to say it's chance, right? It's just chance. We have evolved to be within the universe. We have evolved to adjust with the universe. And so now we are surprised why the universe fits us. No, the universe doesn't fit us. We fit the universe. That's the whole argument. But the reason this doesn't work is that the fine-tuning argument is not talking about complex life evolving and adapting the universe. The fine-tuning argument is talking about, to stick with this example, the very possibility that road exists, or gravity exists, or hydrogen exists, or oxygen exists. The fine-tuning argument is not talking about complex life form adapting to things within the universe. The fine-tuning argument is talking about the very essential and basics of the universe that ever permits hydrogen and oxygen to ever come into place. The very existence of gravity that would permit rain to fall and puddle to shape form and all of that. And so this puddle analogy, which is very common, again very popular, misses the mark on that end as well. So with that, I will come to a conclusion here, and I'm going to stop the recording.